Okay, this is a good one for sure. This is a question that is predominating now since I made that video about how girls are sensitive and they can read your energy better than guys. They're more intuitive. Because then you get the smart guys who have very narrow perspective of life that think this means this and that means that. It's like, no, life is super complex and it never means pretty much what you think it means. There's always a bunch of hidden variables and factors and cofactors and interconnections that we're not even aware of. But let's get to the point. Question is, if the girls are so sensitive and they can read you so good, why do they get into relationships that are bad for them or that are destructive or that are just doomed for failure? That doesn't nullify the fact that they can read energy. Let's apply this to your own life. How many times have you knew better, but you didn't do better? How many times? Now, some people are so unconscious, they probably, if you're too robotic, you literally have no introspection going on ever. You're like, it's almost like an animal. They just act according to desire and instinct. But we're talking about those who are a little more conscious than that. You know, there's a situation. You know you shouldn't go there, or you shouldn't talk to this person or this girl, whatever. You know, like it's gonna be, you're like, damn it, I've done this a bunch of times. This can't be good. But yet you can't help it. Like, okay, maybe I'm just gonna do it anyway. You see, something deeper is driving you to go do something that you know in your heart isn't good. We can bring it back to the analogy, the devil's here and the angel's here, and angel says no and the devil says yeah, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna listen to the devil. You know, everybody, this is a human thing. We all have that. So the reason girls get into toxic relationships isn't because they still can't read energy and they're not intuitive. The reason is they're being driven by deeper subconscious, usually subconscious, even if they're conscious. Still, the tendency to trauma and drama and destructive overrides their more quiet, intuitive feeling of like, you know what, this guy's not good for me. Because this is what we're up against in life. We have to go through a stage of ignorance and then transcendence, and then we get some wisdom. Nobody's exempt from that. All genders have to go through that. Like, it's just the way it is. That's why it's ridiculous to try to compare men and women and say men are like higher than women. It's just, yeah, we're different. We all have our own gifts and assets and qualities, and then we have our own shortcomings and defects, and they're different. And so then God puts us together and says, okay, work it out. I'm gonna make you attracted to another being who's like totally different than you, biologically and emotionally and every which way, and you got to like work it out. What does he mean work it out? You learn to hold space and have tolerance and deeper understanding that this being is their own individual being and they have to go through what they have to go through. It's not personal. See, we get insecure, we take things personal. Why do they do that though? To me. Why do they do that to me? They cheated on me. They're not doing it to you. They're doing it to their own self. Their spiritual tendencies or tendencies to do justice for themselves isn't yet strong enough. They're these old patterns that some of us were born with them, this trauma, or we develop them through our life because like this time and age, man, is rough. Nobody has like usually a good childhood and parenthood, and society's crazy, and so you get warped, you know. And so then you start, by law of attraction, you're going to attract somebody who's on a similar vibration as far as sickness goes or wellness, depending. Is your vibration of holisticness in you stronger than your ignorance? If it's stronger, you're going to attract a girl who's a little higher. Those girls who are higher, they listen to their intuition more. The girls who are still kind of struggling with their darkness, they're going to be drawn to guys that aren't good for them. They know it. They know it inside. I think more girls are watching now, so they might appreciate this. Maybe Maybe that's the other thing. A lot of people don't want to look at this stuff. They don't want to look at it, and then they get mad at the person who's like sharing things to make them look at it. I'm like, I'm not making you look at it. You can turn the video off. So they're in the stage. Do you think that they like don't know? They know. Somewhere inside they know. Just like you. Somewhere inside you know when you're doing something that's not so auspicious for you. You just don't listen to that voice. You're like, yeah, I'll deal with it later. Yeah, you'll deal with it when the consequences get bad, and then you'll have to look at it. Then you'll be like, damn it, why? I knew it. I had a girlfriend. She did that with me. She was like, she knew I wasn't good for her as far as like relationship material goes. She would have dreams. I remember one night she was having a bad dream, man, like a nightmare. We were in the same bed, and I'm like, I like, is everything all right? And then the next morning she told me that she had a dream I cheated on her or did something. Sometimes we make too much about our dreams though. Oh, this is a deep sign and this means that. I never cheated on her, but I wasn't good relationship material for her. So at the end, the last night, that sucked. That was New Year's Eve night too. Fireworks are going off outside, fireworks are going off inside her. And she started hitting herself, man. Heavy. I never, it was the first time I dealt with that on that level. She's like, I knew it. Because you know what happened? We did San Pedro cactus at a ceremony, and there were a couple girls in the ceremony, and in the morning, they went to the river. And I was like, I wonder if they're naked. And then there was a dog barking. So I told my girlfriend, I said, I'm gonna go check something. And so I went and looked, and they were naked, right? It's just guy stupid stuff we do. I knew I shouldn't have done it. There's another example. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but like the tendency, I just want to look. I want to look. Can you hold space for yourself when you make so-called mistakes? It doesn't do any good if you can hold space for yourself, but you can't hold for anybody else. And if you can't hold space for yourself, you can't hold space for other people. The quickest way to know somebody doesn't have patience and tolerance with their own self is the way they judge you. Oh, look, even that example, maybe I'll get judged for. See, he's not spiritual. He went and looked at it, you see? That tells me all about how you judge your own self. Being a human being, you're not perfect. You're not going to be. And all this stuff has to play out. And it's not a big deal. In the end, it's like not a big deal. Like, who cares? When you leave this body and you reflect back in your life, you're like, this was just a kind of a ridiculous circus, So I looked at them, and I'm like, oh, they're naked. And then they liked that I saw them naked. They laughed, edging, dopamine hit. So then I went back and sat with my girlfriend. She's like, where'd you go? I'm like, I don't know. The dog was barking. I just, wanted to see maybe he was barking at something. She says, no, you didn't. Hey, you went to go see if those girls were naked. I was like, yeah, I was a little curious, And then she lost it, man. And there were other things leading up to that, because I was edging in daily life. Like, I had that edging, man. I wanted to kind of flirt a little bit, even though I was with her. And she took that super personal. So be aware of that. If you have a girlfriend, be aware of that. That hurts them, generally. That's something that they have to work on, that it's very difficult for them. I understand that. So then God works it out, and he puts a girl that needs to work on that with a guy that does it. You see, remember, because relationships are about growth. It's not about just making each other happy and you act the way I want you to act so then I feel good and vice versa. No, man. We get together and then everything gets exposed. All of our little shortcomings and defects of character and all that stuff. It makes us get stronger. If we're smart, if we look at it that way, instead of just blaming the other person. So anyway, the relationship ended, and then we went back, and she was spending the night because she lived too far, and it just hit her that night. She started hitting herself, I knew it. I knew you, basically I knew that I shouldn't be with you, basically. So there you go. That is what happens. She had the feeling, she knew, because girls are super intuitive and sensitive, more than guys. I'll say that all day long. It's not even an opinion. It just is what it is. They're biologically like that. God gave them that gift because they're a girl, probably. You know, he needs to, God needs to like give them something to help keep them protected. And so, and also because they're mothers and they have children and they need that. They need that that deeper sense of intuition. Guys can also develop it, but I'm just saying from the get-go, in terms of like software, they get higher software from the beginning when it comes to that. So the other thing is, when they sense in themselves that they're like attracted to this guy, let's say that you represent a higher version of their self, and they like that. Their higher self likes that, right? Because you want to be. This is the power of having good company, hanging out with good company, good environment. It vivifies your own higher nature, brings it to life. So they see a guy with a higher nature, and they like, this is another example. They like that, but they don't like see, if you're with somebody with a higher nature, girl, guy, doesn't matter, friend, they're going to reflect back to you your so-called lower nature. Subconsciously, most people don't want that. They don't want to look at that stuff. They just want to be higher, but they don't want to go through the transformation and the alchemic process of really stepping into the higher version of themselves. Because in order to do that, this lower version has to get burnt. You have to go through this transformation. So then that can be another reason they avoid. I mean, has that happened to you? It's happened to me. It's happened both ways, actually. I call it meeting somebody too soon. It's like you met them and you really like them, but like something's holding back. Something's like why am I holding back? But then you look at another girl who's like not so good for you and you're like really comfortable. I'm like, oh, maybe I love her more. No. Yeah, you might think you do, but really they're safer. They're like safer. They're not going to bring anything up in you that you really need to look at. They're not going to see that darkness in you because they can't see it in their own self. So they can't see it in you. So then you choose that. So both guys and girls do that. So it doesn't, the fact that they do that doesn't nullify their ability, their intuitive powers. It just means they're not like ready to step in to their higher self yet. So I wrote some notes down, and I can't see what I wrote because this was an important topic, and I didn't want to miss anything. Let's see. Okay. So if you're running into this, yeah, this is important. I'm glad I paid attention. If you're running into this, meaning if you've spent your life pretty much, let's say, for the most part, really doing inner work and introspection and self-analysis, and if you're doing that, you're gonna grow fast. Growth is gonna be exponential. You're gonna be at a level most people aren't at because they don't do it. People busy trying to please their senses and get short hits of euphoria and dopamine, like they're not looking at themselves. So then you're out and you're doing your thing, you meet a girl, or if you're a girl, you meet a guy, you guys hit it off good, there seems to be some chemistry, but then they like don't want to continue with that. And you're thinking like, what the hell? I told a girl once that. I'm like, we're connected, and I learned, don't do that. I'm like, I told her, because if you have to say this, they're not ready, clearly. I said, man, we're hitting it off like super good. Like, I mean, can you feel it? Yeah, like I know you can feel it, but like I want to know where you're at with this. If this is so much fun and feels good, don't you want to do it more? If you find yourself having to say that, she's not ready. They don't know they're not ready. We have to stop expecting people are seeing things the way we see them. They're not. They live in their own unique little individual world and bubble. They got no idea. They got no idea. It's just like some people watch these videos, they're like, yes. Other people are like, this dude is crazy as hell. And both really believe what they're thinking and feeling. See, it's all subjective. It depends where you're at in consciousness. That will determine what you're attracted to and what you're not. So if you're in that situation, it can be a bit disheartening when you see that happening over and over again. Your mind might start telling you, well, there's something wrong with me. What the hell? What's wrong with me? Like, I feel I'm being authentic, but yet I keep getting denied, it feels like. Don't take that personal. It's not personal. This is the biggest takeaway I can try to give you. It's not personal. It's that it's not yet ready. They met you too soon. I think I started to say that at the beginning of the video. You ever felt like you met somebody too soon? Yeah. It's like your higher nature is responding, but the lower nature is too much crud and junk that needs to be cleared out first before you can enjoy this higher level of chemistry and communion. That's what's happening. That can happen to you, or it can happen with her when you feel there's great chemistry, but yet she's kind of running away. That's what it is. I've experienced that enough to where I finally saw, like, that's what it is. That's why in the end, there's no way around it. You and God have to be a majority, or you and the divine, you and the universe, whatever word you want to call it. It doesn't care. It doesn't have a name. We just use names to try to point to it. That has to be your main sukkah. Because everything else is too much work, man. It's just too much work. It's just too much stuff to go through and, all that. So then when you let all that go and you chill, then you might meet somebody on your level. Remember the rule, the universal law? You get what you want when you stop wanting it. That's what'll happen. Then you'll meet a woman or a girl and you guys just connect, man. And she's not scared and you're not scared, or even if there is some fear that comes up, you're mature enough to know what it is. You're like, whoa, I don't know if I uploaded that video yet about love. I don't think so. When that connection's strong, man, it'll take you over. But you're like, yeah, cool, like I'm ready. Like I like that experience. What other experience is there to have? I'm gonna get drunk? Whoa, it's like a stupid experience compared to what we're talking about now. So you do your thing, you keep getting higher, and that's what you do. That's all it's all about, the whole life. Get higher, higher in consciousness. Let the chips fall how the universe is working it all out. You don't need to go out and worry about this stuff. All you got to do is get higher. What does the Bible say? Seek thy first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added onto you. That's what he's saying. He's realized that principle. When you get straight down to the core level, which means how do I increase the quality of my character and elevate my consciousness? When that's your main goal, man, you get everything else comes to you. You'll attract the right amount of money for you. Maybe not the millions. You probably don't need the millions. You'll attract the right partner or friends. You'll find your function that you're supposed to fulfill in life, whatever that is. That's what'll happen, all right? So, cool. I like this video. I'll see you.